Righty, welcome back. We're working on the middle ground and we had our horizon line. We want to make sure we're getting rid of that. Okay, your middle ground consists of your, well, this could be considered a background, but your middle ground can come to about here on an image. And depending upon what you want in there, usually at this level of drawing, we consider that the mountains are the middle ground because it makes it easier on a student. So we're going to use this as our sample. We're going to start off with shading our mountains. I'm just sort of rubbing it in. Okay, so now what we have is we have the front part having a little more detail as if it is closer. So let's see if we can actually make one look a little bit closer. So we're going to pull this section here and make this a little bit closer than all the other ones. This one will be a further distance as if it is here. So it's going to remain light, and we may have little variations of land color to it. Let's say it's got just a tad bit of snow on there. We're going to erase where we want the snow to be. You don't have to have that on there. You can create it with just the different lines in there to create the different variations. Make sure you're using your pencil sideways, and the reason I'm way back here is so that my hands are not in the way as they had been in previous videos that I've created. Okay, so we got this one in the very background practically done. Okay, so let's say this one crawls in here. Now this one is going to be slightly darker than the other one. And of course we're going to rub it in, and if you have a smudging stump you can use that, but I like using smudging stumps for the small little details I need. So let's say we have a cavern or a crevice here on a slope side of your mountain. We might have an area that is a little bit darker or a little bit lighter. I apologize, I'm getting my shading my values wrong. And you may have this a little bit darker in here. Now this right here is going to be a whole lot more darker than be increasingly darker than the other mountain. And all I'm doing is laying my pencil sideways. If you use a mechanical pencil, you won't get anywhere. Now I'm also taking my pencil sideways and creating some extra areas that may give the mountain that look of different depths. And I can almost leave it like that without doing any rubbing because it almost looks like there's trees in there. Okay, and that doesn't look too bad. I can pretty much say that that looks rather nice. I'm going to make this area a little more sketchy to make it look like there's trees a little more visible on this part of the mountain. Okay, so now you can't quite tell if there's trees in here. This is where things look a little smoother. So you're going to pull some different areas down in here. Again, laying your pencil sideways. And this is where you could take your smudging stump and laying it sideways. But if you want those darker areas to stick out, you may want to have the tip available for you to use. Okay. Okay, so mountains always have different variations of color to them, and you want to show that off. Okay, so now I'm going to take a little bit of this darker area, and then I'm going to use it for this background mountain. Alright, now I went over the edge of my mountain, which I shouldn't have. But what's cool about it is you just gently erase and then rub it in, and you've got your mountain area. Now you can choose to make this water, or you can choose to make it fog, or before you can exceed into your foreground. We'll make it look like fog, because sometimes we have a difficult time in doing our area of the connection between the middle ground and foreground. So this is for those of you that are beginners. We haven't even started that. Okay, so we may have some little trees in here, starting of our foreground. So we're just kind of getting somewhat of some different ideas. Okay? Because these are going to be what you put into your major landscape area that you choose. Alright. Now if you look at these trees, there are some that are bundled up with a lighter side and a very dark side, some that are sporadic, some that are very narrow, and some that are almost like a triangle. Like you've got this one right here. This one's like a triangle. This one is rather sporadic, has very few dark spaces in it. And this is almost as if it's a floral plant. We're not sure, because we are only looking at it in black and white. So now we're going to figure out exactly what we want to put in our foreground. So let's see if we can find something that exhibits our foreground. Here's a good one. This one has a road and a sign that tells you which direction goes where, another road that goes here, a barn. This is your foreground that you would be working on. You can have a river in it. You can have a rock. You can have power poles. Now you can't see the lines, and that's what's really cool about black and white, is the power lines are practically invisible. You've got another power pole here, and then another one, and this background that's very difficult to see. So you can choose whichever background you would like. Even if you did a cemetery, you can choose to do the variations of the light and shadow. Okay, so we're going to have our coloration here. I do have another video that has a river through it. You can add that in there if you'd like. It also has how to do rocks. We're going to look at this in terms of, let's say this is our mountain area. We're trying to get this situated as if it was here. This is our fog. Okay, so in the very background you can decide whether or not you want some water. You won't be able to see the edge of the mountain here and its water, but you can just create a shoreline. There is no right or wrong way. You can even come in like this. If you come in like this, you may want to have an edge here that might have a little raised edge of dirt. Okay, so we're going to start off with creating. Let me move this over so I can get everything in there. I'm laying my pencil sideways, and I'm going just doing kind of like a sawing motion back and forth. And then I'm going to slowly lift up and continue doing that motion so that I can get everybody's all of the branches looking in there. And you can probably just go on up and make it look like that. So you can actually say that there might be one little tree on there. Maybe there might be a dock for a boat to sit. Now remember, when you have a dock, you also have the poles on the other side of your dock that hold the the other side up, because your dock is in form of a rectangle. You may want to make some wiggling water. You do not have to be super detailed because this is in the distance. So just kind of make a few little lines. And that's how you tell the difference between a drawing and a painting, a painting and even photography. Sometimes photography will be focused on your foreground more than they will your background, and that too will also be blurry. But if you are actually drawing it, you'll have details most generally all the way through. Okay, so now we're going to make a tree. I'm making one of those little bushy trees because I don't like the way that little edge of that land looked. Now here's the thing, if I make the tree here, I want to make the lower half of it gray, or a darker gray, almost black. So I've got my tree here, so now I'm going to darken in the bottom half of it, so it's not getting hardly any sunlight. And there we go. So maybe I want to add a big huge boulder in here, and maybe it goes downhill, so I'm going to pull this down and change this a little. This is why we sketch, because as you can tell, it's easy for me to erase those lines. And you may have a little bit of a variation in here on a slope. If this is your lighting, this area probably will not get a whole lot of sunlight as it's traveling down into the lower half of this area here. So it's just a very slight difference between what's up here and what is down here. Now for my rock, I know that the bottom half will be dark. I'm going to use my smudging stump to smudge in some lines in there. If you make the smudges first, then it'll make it easier to make your details. So then I can come back through with my pencil, and this is where I can draw. Now the top of my rock should be catching some light. So I want to have a lighter part of my rock here and maybe the edge of it here. Now this part of the rock, it may go downwards. There's no right or wrong way to do this. Just like Bob Ross said, you can make anything if you just slow down and think a little bit about texture, line, and drawing is probably one of the easiest things to do if you just think about it, especially drawing landscape. You just have to do a lot of guessing and having some fun. And I don't want anyone to tell me, can I just stop there? I want this whole area full of different ideas. So let's say we have a fence that's coming into view. Again, I'm laying my pencil sideways. Okay. So then, to make, you can make it a barbed wire fence if you'd like. But since this is black and white, you do not have to worry about making your fence post look exactly perfect. Just lay your pencil sideways and make it connect. Okay, you may have some areas in here that maybe you'll need that space. Then you go back through with your pencil and make your sharp lines. Okay, I'm making this look as if it is actually done by cut down trees, so that means my fence isn't going to be straight, and that's okay. I'm going to add the details to my post.